Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello, and welcome to that pedal thing that we haven't named yet.
What are we going to call it?
We're going to have to come. Yeah, we'll gladly take your suggestions on what we're going to call it. But this is the first proper show we filmed from here. We filmed one last week, which was about the trials and tribulations of moving in. And we're going to be awake and not at all tired for this.
Come on.
Yeah. But we're in. And
we're in. It's all happening.
Look how awesome it looks.
It's all happening.
Hooray.
Brilliant. So thank you very much for joining us. The last ever show that we did from our old studio, it was a show on Wet, Dry, Wet. Basically, we put together the most ridiculous rig we could possibly imagine. We had a 2-rock custom signature reverb in the centre.
Classic reverb signature.
Classic reverb signature. That was the centre dry amp.
That amp there.
And we had 1961 AC30 as one of the wet amps, and also Hampstead as the other wet amp. We had a Benson Echo Rec 2 and RE201 tape delay.
Go and listen
Vintage
to it.
fuzzers. Go and have a listen to it. It's just the most epic sound. I was crying. You know,
put headphones on and listen to it. I was amazed in the comments. Quite a lot of people going, "Oh yeah, listening onto my laptop speakers." It's like, no. Please put some headphones on and listen to it. It's
huge.
It sounds crazy.
And I think every second comment was, "Please, can you show us how to do this on with a more realistic rig?"
Yes. And the other question that came up was, well, it's not really wet, dry, wet, because proper wet, dry, wet has dry only in the middle and 100% wet on the outside. So
that is one, yeah. So
can we get into that?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to get into that. Yeah. So, and another question, or another comment that people are still unclear about is the signal path and how to do wet, dry, wet. So I'm going to go home tonight after this. I'm going to do some graphics. And Simon's going to edit them into the video just to give you guys just a real clear idea on the way that the signal path works to do this. So I love using a wet-dry rig. If I got 2 amps, I'll always, one will be wet and one will be dry. Now, all I mean by that is that the wet amplifier will have my dry sound as well, but will include my delays.
In truth, it's dry, wet, dry, isn't it? Because one of your amp is dry and the other one has a dry sound as well, but it also has wet. Because in a proper definition of wet, there's no dry in it.
Okay. Yeah.
At least that's what a lot of people were saying in the comments.
Yeah. You can with a wet dry rig. If the outside, whatever amp is receiving the effector stuff, it's still you can still call it wet dry, even if you have some dry stuff in the wet rig. There's a number of different ways that you can do it.
Wet being reverbs, delays, and modulations.
Exactly, the trippy tones.
Dry being overdrives, and just none of the reverb, delay, and modulation.
Yeah. So
to taste,
we've got 3 amplifiers we're using today. Okay, let's go through them. So the first amp we're using is the Vox AC15. It's a
C1.
C1, okay.
I think the latest one with the greenback speaker.
Okay, so this is it. Great.
Bit of reverb on there?
Yeah.
Spring reverb?
Yeah, just a hair.
It does also have tremolo, which we'll mess around with later.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it does. Blimey, this could be a terrible admission, couldn't it? Yeah,
it does. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so Vox AC15. We also have, come on, brain. We have the Hot Rod Deluxe on this side. It's a nice sounding amp.
It's a great amp, super popular.
Yeah, lovely.
I'll do this very quickly. A lot of people assume that the Hot Rod Deluxe sounds a lot like a blackface Fender. It really doesn't that much. Much more pronounced mid-range.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And in many respects, all the better for it. In some, for a certain job.
Sure. Now this is version 3, 4.
This is 3.
Okay.
So it's not the very latest one, which is 4.
Okay.
Denoted by the white knobs.
Oh, okay, cool.
Black knobs.
So 4's got the white knobs, this has got black knobs. Okay, cool. Now we have the Pro Junior, Blues Junior.
Blues Junior.
Come on. All right.
We're so getting a Pro Junior.
Oh, yes. We played one when we were at Fender.
10-inch speaker, 15 watts,
amazing.
EL84s.
Okay, Blues Junior.
And if you deliberately set that a bit crunchy,
Just a little bit hairy.
for anyone who wants to know, sorry, we don't have amp cam on. It's 4 and 4, so 4 input gain and 4 on the master.
Okay.
Ish.
And there was a fat button that I pressed.
Oh, so you did? Yeah.
What does that do?
It does this.
Nice.
Add some gain. I don't know how it adds the gain. Maybe it's a half a 12 and AX7, or
Okay.
maybe it's some sort of chip. I don't know. Anyway,
Right.
it adds a bit of gain.
So 3, I don't want to say common, but 3 widely used amplifiers.
Probably the 3 most popular valve amps on the planet, I would say.
Boom. There you go.
Almost. I mean, maybe there are more.
Nah, surely. What else is there?
In terms of in common usage among players who do stuff.
Right. That's in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah, like
That's
people
how
who
it's
play in
written.
bands is what I'm saying.
Of course.
Or at least rehearse or, play at any sort of sensible volume.
Right.
I think they're probably the 3 most popular valve amps in the world. And if they're not, they're certainly
Very close.
they're on the list.
Right. Okay. Right. So they're the 3 amps we're working with.
Can I
Now,
ask a question?
Please. Michael.
Why have you chosen... This was a question... I'm asking this on behalf of you guys. Why do you choose to put the 1 amp in the middle? And, why is the Hot Rod Deluxe over there? Why is the AC15 there? And why is the other one there?
Okay. So you can hear the sound that we've got on the Blues Junior. And there's nothing, the guitar's going straight to the Blues Junior, and there's a bit of hair on it. It's just the amp doing its thing, right? Right.
We forget Red Superhuman powers.
But it's a really lovely sound. It has its own compression going on, its own limiting, and it sounds really great. Now, if you add wet effects to that, the wet effects will have a very dramatic effect on it. So what we want to do is we want to keep that sound basically. We can add gain to it. So again, Blues Junior. Add D&M Drive to it. And so it's working within the amp's natural limiting range. And it sounds sort of, that you feel that compression is digging in. It's really nice.
It's really... Just do that again on the Tele a sec, between D&M Drive on and off.
Okay, so without the D&M Drive. D&M Drive.
I think with a guitar with quite a lot of kick in it, what you're getting there is it's just pushing. Obviously, the D&M Drive is adding a lot of gain, but it's pushing the amp into real chewy territory.
Love that.
Contrast that with what it does to the Strat a sec. because the guitar isn't pushing the amp so hard in the first place, the
Right.
pedal has just a way more dramatic effect.
Sure.
I mean, it has a dramatic effect with the Tele, but
Yeah.
it's just not. This guitar isn't pushing the amp on its own at
Sure.
all. So,
Sure. But as soon as you kick it in with the pedal.
And that, yeah, we talk about that all the time, where getting your amp to right at that point where you like the amount of gain and compression that it's giving you. And in the context of the wet-dry discussion, I think we've always pretty much said put the higher headroom amps on the outside, on the wet side, so that you can hear the effects clearly, which is kind of the opposite of what we did in the last show. We put the highest headroom amp as the middle amp, the 2-rock.
Yes, but but it's the sound of that amplifier, because it's so dynamic, and it was set up to be that really punchy. There's the mid-range that amplifier has got is like the mid-range. I've never heard a guitar an amp so focused, big, but it hits you right in that area. It's astonishing. It's really hard to speak about that amp and not to speak in hyperbolic superlative terms, because it's
more
like
hyperbolic than hyper, I would say.
very good.
It's spectacular. Yeah,
It's crazy.
But that's the question that came up in the comments was, hang on, why have you put the highest headroom amp in the middle when you normally suggest doing it the other way around? And the other way around is what we've done here, isn't it?
Exactly. So that and there's a couple of reasons for this, because it works in both contexts. We're going to show a pure wet, 100% wet and dry rig. So that amplifier will be the only dry sound, and then just the delays, and then we're going to have a mixture of the three with the delays just going on the outside too. Now the reason that I like to do that, and the reason we have the high headroom amp set up on the outside, is because I love the tone of mixing amplifiers.
Yeah.
Okay.
To be fair, the AC15 probably isn't that much higher headroom than the Blues Junior, but the Hot Rod Deluxe is
massively so.
Night and day different. Isn't it?
Massively so.
Cheese and day.
Biscuits.
Crackers and night. Do you remember we had that whole thing? For those of you in the US, we said chalk and cheese, and all the people in the US didn't understand what that meant.
No,
it was night and day.
Night and day.
Night and cheese.
So, if we were just using the Blues Junior by itself, or the sound of the Blues Junior mixed with the other two amplifiers, for me, this mixing the dry signal with other amplifiers, it gives you this wonderful sort of bass coupling thing where it's more than just the sum of its parts.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And the combinations that you can find things that work together and develop your own sound. I mean, I find it's the most inspiring thing, having a couple of amplifiers running together.
A lot of players do it, don't they? And back to that whole discussion about one having slightly more headroom than the other, that tends to be the way that it goes, where you've got one doing the kind of very vocal, the thing that gets you heard.
Yes.
Which on its own might be a little bit like that. But then you add the sort of bass and treble to round it all out. I know Matt Schofield does that. I know Doyle Bramwell does it. Eric Johnson obviously does it, albeit in a slightly different way. So it's a pretty common for guys that use two amps. That's the way they do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
By the way, I will mix the audio exactly the same as I mix the audio for the mega wet dry show. So you can jump back between the two.
Yeah. So with the three amplifiers on, then I've put the D&M Drive on with all three. So that's just an overdrive pedal, the D&M Drive going into all three, all hooked up together. I mean, it's so big.
I can hear the Blues Junior kind of dying a bit, as it was when we were earlier, and I can hear that just coming into its own.
Right.
Can I just hear that with the D&M Drive?
Yep. So
When I say that, I mean the Hot Rod Deluxe.
Yep. So Hot Rod Deluxe. D&M Drive.
Yeah, it's not lifting as much as I thought it was, actually.
Right.
It's still compressing a lot.
Okay.
But I think that's because the level's down on here. It seems quiet to me. Play again.
The Vox. Yeah. But then again, yep, all three. Okay.
Now we're talking.
Right. So what we did in the wet dry wet video.
I've got one more question about the Vox.
Yes.
We're in the Top Boost channel.
Yep.
You don't like the Top Boost channel?
No. But we were playing around. I don't like the Top Boost channel in old Voxes because they only. I mean, I don't know in my amp I don't like the Top Boost. But everyone kept saying that try the Top Boost, and in this it doesn't have that. It seems to be a lot more forgiving, and you also get to dial some bottom end in.
Yeah.
So
well, you've got the bass on 10 there. I was quite surprised to see.
Yeah, but even with the bass on 10,
or indeed 12,
it's still.
Which one do you prefer?
The other one. What's that?
The normal channel.
There you go.
Although, to be fair, you might have set them up in the context of the other.
You want to set it up exactly the way you do. You plug it in, and you find the tone that sounds the best, and that sounds great. Man, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so
how are we with the? How is it with the others?
I just find that sounds so moving, and you won't get that with just any one of those amplifiers,
So for anyone asking, can I do this multiple amp thing? And we haven't even got into wet, dry, wet yet. On a more sensible budget. Yes, you
absolutely
Yes,
can.
you blooming can. That sounds
colossal.
It sounds great.
It's colossal.
And what's the reality here? A load of people go out and buy a Hot Rod Deluxe, and they decide it's way too headroomy, so they want to buy something smaller, and they end up with one of these other amps.
Yep.
Or the other way around, you buy the Blues Junior, and then you want more headroom, so you trade up to a Hot Rod Deluxe. These are amps that people are likely to have. I think
definitely.
we haven't included the 10-watt crate practice amp that you've probably got stuffed away in a cupboard somewhere.
Yes.
Have you, Dan?
Well, what have I got? I've got a little PV, the tiny little PV thing.
Rage? Envoy?
I don't know. You plug it in, it goes, and it's fine. But I just, I've got the Yamaha TH10 thing at home, and that's.
To be fair though, even something like a 15-watt solid state amp, as long as it's not breaking up too much, as one of your wet amps, could serve a purpose.
You've got to be. So, okay, we got the basically vintage design valve amps here, okay, and there's no latency going on. If you're mixing a digital amp and a valve amplifier, it's a whole different thing, because if all you got to do is move back, part of the cycle.
Didn't we find that in Germany?
Yes, we did.
When stuff was going through, and I found it massively when I was trying to mix the audio, trying to mix the mic sound with the torpedo sound.
Yeah.
And
because
they were way off.
Yeah. The latency moves that signal back and only has to move it back a fraction, and it changes the phase relationship. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But because these, those simple old valve designs, so there's no latency. So everything, like when it's in phase, it's really in phase. It sounds great. So,
what signal path have we got then, roughly? I know you said you put the diagram up, but what's going up? So what's going to what?
At the moment, the guitar is going through all the gain pedals. After that, it gets split. Now, the split after that point is going directly to the Blues Junior. So the Blues Junior will receive anything that we turn on before that split, the Blues Junior is going to receive.
Yeah.
But also, the amps after that split will also receive any of the gain pedals. But what the Blues Junior won't receive is anything that we turn on after the split. Okay? So anything before the split, all amps receive. Anything after the split, only the outside two amps are going to receive.
So have you split the delays again?
So the delays. So how we did the delays last time, we had the outside two amplifiers. One was only getting the Echo Rec, and we've got the Boonar here, which is our Echo Rec type pedal, and the other amp was only getting the Space Echo. We don't have a Space Echo, but we do have the wonderful Echoplex, our friend George Tripp's designed. So that is going directly to the other amp.
Even the horn sounds really different in here.
It's honestly, I'm really enjoying it because everything is so clear, and
this is the first. So today is the first time we've done anything in this room, and the video that went out last week was us going, "Oh my god, it sounds so dry in here." Dan really likes it. I'm taking a while to land.
Okay, I'm really enjoying it. Okay, so if I right, I'm going to turn off the dry amp for now. Okay, so this is just the outside two amplifiers. Not on.
I know, and I was testing because put my head right in front of it. My brain is telling me there's sound coming out of that amp.
Okay.
And I don't trust my brain, so I turned it down.
Right. Well,
it does honestly sound like there's sound coming out of that amp.
Yeah, but
I know there's not.
There's not. But yeah, but you put it back to where it was though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Don't touch it!
It's going. Right. Now what I'm going to do, I have split. So I've got a stereo loop here at the end that instead of putting a stereo effect in, I put two separate mono effects in on the right and left channel.
Because they then come out of outputs 1 and 2 on
exactly,
G2. Yeah?
Exactly. Now, if you don't, this is how I do it, but what you can do is then you need to split the signal again, right, at the very end of your signal path to go into the two different delays. Okay, so that's what...
Let's deal with that very quickly. Sorry.
You're right.
One of the questions that came up in the Wet Dry Wet video was, oh, I haven't got a fancy ass G2. How do I do it without some kind of pedal switcher? Right. Where do your splits come?
So, They come. The first split is after the gain pedals.
Yep.
All right. The second split would be before the effects that you want going to the separate amplifiers. Okay. So we've got the Boonar and we've got the Echoplex here. And they sound like, if I just... So again, I don't have the dry amp on. All right. This is just the delays going to the outside two amplifiers. Okay, now,
that was your crazy wig out in that video. If you haven't watched Dan play this, I think I say something like, you're hearing something rhythmic, aren't you? And he's like, yeah. And then proceeds to play this amazing thing, like completely amazing thing. Like Airwolf on acid.
The weirdest thing is I have very little recollection of playing that. I watched back and just went...
So it wasn't a piece, it was totally improvised.
Totally improvised. I've never done anything like that
I gave you a clap at the time, here's another clap. That was, bravo, mate, that was spectacular.
But this is the thing. And loads of people commented on the video, and I just said, the whole reason that this channel exists is because you and I've experienced this thing, that when you get connected with the sound, you play beyond yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's such a special thing, and you know, and our whole idea is to help people get there, you know. And that crazy rig was just like, and it just drew that. It just, you know, when you get that sound going, it's like, you know, and I was just away, and I literally cannot remember playing it and watching it back going, how did I do that? Right, okay, so we've got the outside two amplifiers getting the delay. Now, if I turn on the Blues Junior as well with the outside two, you'll hear, so the initial attack you'll hear through the Blues Junior, and then the delays on the outside. Okay, so outside two with the delay. It's massive.
Sounds huge.
It sounds absolutely huge. But have a listen to what happens when we throw the Blues Junior in. All of a sudden, that really wet, over-the-top thing that you think, well, it does sound huge, but how could you ever use that? And the sound of the Blues Junior that doesn't have, like with the same sound, right? If I just put the Blues Junior on and I turn the delay on, there's nothing there. So, and there's no delay going through that amplifier, so it doesn't get all mushy. It stays really pure, and that sits on top of the wet amplifiers. If I do the same thing with some overdrive, so the outside two amplifiers, I'll put the D&M Drive on and some delay. Again, massive. Now with the Blues Junior.
It's massive.
It's great.
That's the first time I've been moved by sound in this room yet.
There we go. Okay. So what that Blues Junior is giving us is that you still get your overdrive sounds, you know, but the delays are only going on the outside. So it gives you the clarity. It gives you that that direct guitar pedal amp thing
You can run the wet amps much wetter, can't you?
Absolutely.
That's the reality of it. And
absolutely.
Again, sorry to keep harping back to it, but in the video from 2 or 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, I remember myself saying, "Whoa, let's make it less wet," because I was astounded how wet it was. But actually, with that centre amp punching through there, didn't matter.
Yeah. Now, one other thing I've done on the Boonar side. So if I go to just the, I think it's just the Vox. That's the Boonar. After the Boonar, I've also put the tremolo. So it's delaying, and then that's going through the tremolo, but that's just hitting the Vox side. So now if I do the same thing with all the amps on and the delays, you'll be hearing the Boonar and the tremolo just through the AC15, and the Echoplex through the Hot Rod Deluxe.
So the only amp getting the tremolo currently is the Vox.
Is the Vox. Have a go through that, man, because it's just magic.
Still getting used to the sound of this room, but hang on, I'll keep going. That the pick attack, considering how wet it is, you get the pick attack of the guitar.
It's magic. It's great. Interestingly,
Here we go. I put new strings on like
2 seconds ago.
2 seconds before we started filming. That's ace though.
It's great. it's really great. So
I was
that's
trying to get the Becky thing going.
yeah,
Wow,
no,
wow.
totally, yeah, totally, no, it's really great. The so that's how I would run my multiple amp systems. You know, if it's just a wet dry thing, I would have, you know, the center amp and, you know, one of the other.
That sounded, I mean, that sounded massive, colossal.
Yeah.
If you said, all right, Hot Rod Deluxe is a loud amp.
Yeah.
But the other two together, I think you said it before, the term you used was like way more than the sum of its parts.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great way to do it. So that is, you know, the way that we've run wet dry before on the show.
And that's how we did it.
That's the way we did, you know, with the other,
Yeah.
with the last rig. Now, the other way to do it is to have one amp, you know, say, for example, the center amp, which is...
It's so much palatial space, Daniel, that I can't actually reach number one.
Okay, so
Sorry,
that's
center amp dry.
So this is, again, if you want to play, this is the Blues Junior. So what we're going to do now is just add a delay to the outside too, but we're going to do what's called kill dry.
100% wet.
100% wet. Okay, so this is the kill dry. This is just the delay.
It's a very different experience. And how have you achieved that? You've just turned down the...
So what I've done, after the split for the Blues Junior, then that's going into a stereo pedal, which is turned into 100. So that's going to the timeline.
Okay, so we're using the timeline now.
We're using the timeline. That's giving us the delay on both sides.
Right, okay.
Right? So it's got that. We're using a pattern delay, so it just gives you a, you know, you can select a different pattern, like a ping pong type thing.
So you can't use the Echoplex or the Boonar 100% wet?
Exactly. And so the reason we can't achieve that same thing with those two is because it's a mixed knob, but there's always an amount of dry signal in there.
Right.
So to achieve that, you've got to have a delay that will allow you to do 100% wet.
What happens if you go to the 100%, you know, if you go to the maximum mix? Is it just the same level of dry? And
yes, so generally it's 50. So let's give it a go. So with both, so all amps on, and then burn on the Echoplex. So if I go to just the wet amps. Blues Junior.
Yeah, it's just weird because you get very loud delay sound.
Now the thing about this sort of a setup is that at the moment, yes, the dry amp is the Blues Junior. So you need to be happy that that's your main amplifier, because those other two amplifiers only turn on when you kick in the wet tones.
And if they're very different, it could sound incongruous.
Exactly. So that, and you know, you got to make sure that you're happy with the tone from your. If you love that sound, fantastic. But if you want something, you know, if you want your main sound to be big and lustrous, then you need to make sure that your dry amp has that.
Interestingly, so Larry Carlton has done, Robin Ford has done, where they will use their main amp and they'll run their stereo effects through basically a PA system.
Yep.
I think Larry was using like JBL monitors or something, like self-powered, to give him lovely, pristine delays and reverb. So those sounds would have been very different. You know, wouldn't have sounded at all like the dry amp, because you were hearing full range, flat response, PA type speakers.
So what some guys do is they will take the mic'd signal from their amplifier, run that through stereo effects, and then put that through stereo wedges.
Oh, is that what he does?
I don't know if that's what he does, but you know, so you'll have guys who are just running their amp cranked. They don't want anything else except just the sound of the amplifier.
Yeah.
They'll mic that. They'll use the mic signal to add effects.
So you're essentially doing what the front of house would do, but you're doing it for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, that was another question that got asked on the last video. Why don't you just leave this to the sound engineer?
Okay.
Zoinks.
Yeah.
Because most sound engineers I've ever had the pleasure of working with would be like, yeah, one mic, mate.
Yeah. And the other thing is, though, I mean, you know, I am really specific about the sound of my delays.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not leaving that to the sound guy and say, but I'm doing a solo now. Can you give me a 35 millisecond really tight slap back?
Yeah.
Take off a bit of the bottom end though, and modulate it a hair.
By the way, have you got an Echo Rec plug-in?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, I'm. You know,
you want this.
You want that.
These sounds.
You want those sounds. So, yeah.
Where are we then? Because one of the questions I want to ask you in a minute is, I want to have a play with the Boonar. What else do we need to know about the 100% wet thing?
Well, you know, the 100% wet, you know, like you were saying before, there's a number of ways to do it. If you're going to have, just make sure that you're happy with the sound of your main amplifier. And, you know, it is just about having the outside two with nothing but delays. You know, but the way that, you know, we've done it before is having everything on, all amplifiers on, and running the wet effects to only one of them, or outside two.
Give us a bit of a comparison then. Let's hear you playing dry, wet only, with the timeline, and then wet, dry, wet as we would normally have it with the Boonar and the Echoplex.
Okay, so dry and with wet only. Great. Right, so that's dry with wet only.
Yeah, come on.
and all three on with the two with the Boonar and the Echoplex.
Sounds ace.
Sounds great.
And I do, you know, clearly the volume's gone up a little bit. That's definitely pushing the buttons, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
But remember the amps we're using. We're not using a Crazy 2 Rock and a
that's right.
61 AC30 and a Hamster. We're not. We're using everyday amps that most people have got.
Yep. And we're using
they sound
effects that you can
fantastic.
go out and buy tomorrow. You know, you might have to buy them online, but but you know, it's all very attainable stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not Joyo, Tone City price. It's good, professional standard, great sounding stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is that's where we draw
That's
the
where
line,
we
really.
live.
So, can I hear this Boonar then? Does
Yep.
it do that Echo Rec thing? You know, does it have the swell mode?
Yes.
How do you make it do that?
Okay, so
I'll have a little bit of Doreen and Marlene Drive.
okay, this is just going through the AC30.
Yeah,
You okay with that?
yeah.
Okay, because
AC15.
sorry, even that one.
Yeah.
All right. So the Boonar, again, so we got this turns the delay on.
Yeah.
So have a listen to this. And then this turns the swell on.
Oh, nice. What are you twiddling with there?
There's a
Then?
drum age knob in the back.
Oh, right.
So I'm just going between the really new drum, which is here, and the older drum, which is here.
Drops off a bit.
Just a little bit higher.
There's no modulation there as such, is there?
No. So if there is
That's what I was looking for when we get onto that. So if you now set the Echoplex up so it's almost on the edge of self oscillation.
Okay.
That was the thing that got me about what we had going with the Space Echo and the.
Okay, let's do that.
And the Echo Rec. I remember what it was. We had the Echoplex set up on a slap.
Okay.
Do you remember?
Yep.
With a bit less repeat. One consequence of all this manual labour we've been doing is my hands are in shreds.
Yeah, right.
Fingernails bashed. That's my excuse anyway. Of course, I meant Space Echo.
Bloody Simon and Detective
Simon Turner.
Perfectionist Turner. All right.
Certainly somebody's listening. Whoa! I haven't been taking drugs, but if I had, I think it would sound like that. Huge. I'm going to have to teach my fingers to work again after 2 weeks of not playing, but...
There you go. Magic.
I mean... What have we done there? So we've taken out... what's the Space Echo? Like 12, 1300... Not the Space Echo, the Space Echo. 12, 1300, something like that.
Yep.
In reasonable condition.
Yep.
Echo Rec, couple of grand.
$4,000.
Ooh!
For the Echo Rec 2,
in that condition,
you get $4,000 for that.
So we've minus roughly $5,000, and we've replaced that with Echoplex. What's that? 200 quid or something?
Yep.
Boonar, a bit more than that.
Yeah, 250.
Yeah. So let's say 500. So we've knocked quite a lot off by getting
90%.
By getting rid of the 2 old Echo units. Not as magic, but still some phenomenal sounds in there.
Yeah, wonderful.
amplifiers, we've taken away 5 grand's worth of 2 Rock, 3 grand's worth of vintage Vox,
2 grand.
2 grand's worth of Hampstead.
Yeah.
That's 10,000 quid. And we've replaced it with 600, 1,000, 1,600-ish, 1,700. There you go.
So,
and how much tone have we taken away? 15%? I mean, it's totally arbitrary trying to put numbers on it.
yeah.
For those of you writing, it's the law of diminishing marginal returns, don't you know? Yes, I do know that. But that's exactly what it is, of course.
Yeah, of course.
It's just, to get that extra ultimate costs you vertical,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
The point is that there's quite a few of you who'll be able to go and do this, relatively. A lot of you guys will have these, at least a couple of these amplifiers.
Yeah, and these are disparate amps. They're 3 entirely different sounding amps to really make the point that kind of doesn't matter what you use, does it really?
Yeah, you'll find stuff that works great together. you know.
I mean, if you've got, let's say you've got a tiny Terra and or some other really gainy amp that's absolutely maxed out on gain, and you're trying to wet dry that with something that's
Like a twin.
that's got huge, of course, some cool sounds in there for sure, but there'll be a disparity and it'll be slightly odd.
Yeah.
You need to be in the same gain ballpark.
Sure.
You need to be playing the same sport.
It all boils down to, it's so much fun, and at the end of the day, if you can put a rig together like this and it draws something else out of you and inspires you to do something, it's so worth it. It's, there you go.
It almost inspired me today, Dan. Dude,
it sounds great.
After 2 weeks of... so for those of you who don't know, we've moved. And this is the first proper video from our new place. And it's been hard work. And we nearly didn't film today, but we did.
We did. We got it done. We got
Get
it done.
in.
Well done, mate.
Come on, play us out.
All right.
Thank you to our exclusive preferred retailers in the USA.
It is Riff City Guitar of New Hope, Minnesota.
In Australia.
Brisbane, Queensland, Pedal Empire.
And in the UK and Europe.
Anderton's Music of Guildford, Surrey. Come on. I got them all right.
You did. Splendid folk call. Yeah, if you're going to buy something, check them out. All very nice people with good stuff. Thank you massively to anyone who's gone to that pedal show store and bought a t-shirt. We got some new stuff coming soon, probably.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. It makes the world a difference.
Yeah,
thank you so
keeps
much.
us in business. And Patreon, everyone who does Patreon, thank you very much as well. Makes a huge difference.
Fabulous.
We'll see you next week. Break my heart. No pressure.